Do you know the difference between fasting and dieting? Well, fasting is all the rage right now, but many of you who follow me on social media or subscribe to my YouTube channel have been asking me, is fasting truly better than any other diet out there? You also probably know my dog Timmy, but we're gonna save him for another video. In today's video, I'm gonna break down the major differences and similarities between these two eating patterns so that you can better determine which option suits your fitness goals best. So first, let's define what intermittent fasting is not. Intermittent fasting is actually not a diet at all. It's a pattern of eating where your food intake is consumed within an 8-hour period of time, and the remaining 16 hours of the day make up what's known as your fasting period. There are a variety of ways that you can implement fasting into your routine. Now, the approach that I find to work the best for people getting started is a 16-8 method, especially if you're new to fasting. So if you want to skip ahead and learn how you can adopt my personal fasting schedule, I posted a video that covers all of those details. And you can check that video out by heading on over to SixPackAbs.com right now. Okay, so what is a diet? Well, simply put, a diet is described as a certain type or course of food that one eats in order to lose weight. So right off the bat, we already know that there are two different metabolism mechanisms at play here. Intermittent fasting relies on the mechanism of time for results to be experienced, whereas dieting relies on the mechanism of consuming certain types of foods. Okay, so now that we've got these methods defined, let's talk about the similarities that fasting and traditional diets share. It's important that both of these patterns of eating encompass a calorie deficit of some kind in order for weight loss to occur. So when you go on any sort of diet, calorie restriction is a must. Typically, you reduce your normal calorie intake by at least 20% in order to experience a reduction in body weight. This is a commonly accepted rule of thumb for traditional fat loss diets. However, with fasting, the calorie deficit occurs unintentionally. This is because even after just one day of fasting, the stomach actually shrinks, which decreases your appetite and you end up eating far less than you normally would. So it's interesting to know that dieting and fasting both incorporate a calorie deficit when one is forced while the other occurs naturally. Now let's look at the main features of both fasting and dieting. Most traditional diets suggest that we eat every 2 to 3 hours in order to support stable blood sugar levels. Now, for someone who has the time to eat, then stop, then eat again all day, this could be practical. In contrast, with fasting, your daily food intake is reserved to an 8-hour window. That means while you're busy during the day with work or school, you'll simply just fast and then start your eating period later on in the day. That way, you'll have more free time to actually enjoy what you're eating in the first place. Next is the flexibility factor. Diets usually always encompass meal plans and give specific restrictions on which foods you can and cannot eat in order to experience results. You're also measuring out specific portions, you're counting calories, you're tracking your macros down to a T. With fasting, you actually have the flexibility. You have the flexibility to eat the foods you love. This is because going 16 hours without eating gives your body a chance to tap into fat reserves for energy, which gives you more room in your diet to consume your favorite foods without gaining body fat. And since diets typically include a meal plan, that means there is a lot more prep work involved too. Grocery shopping for specific foods, cooking, cleaning. And with fasting, there's no meal prep required because you do not have to follow a set meal plan in order to experience results. You could eat out for every meal if you really wanted to. This is why busy CEOs, people who travel, or people who just flat out hate cooking and meal prep gravitate towards fasting. Most importantly of all, when we are comparing these two eating methods, we need to look at the scientific support behind each of them. The whole concept of eating every 2 to 3 hours to boost your metabolism is a crock. This has never been proven by science to be true. In fact, eating every 2 to 3 hours keeps your insulin levels heightened all the time, which makes your body incredibly vulnerable to storing fat. For this reason, most diets require you to eat super low-calorie, healthy foods in order for any result to actually be experienced. That isn't practical, nor is it satisfying or sustainable to eat in a way that never fulfills you, which is why so many people tend to experience little to no result at all with traditional diets. Then on the other hand, we have intermittent fasting, which is one of the most scientifically validated fat loss methods known to man. And this is because when you go set periods of time without eating, your body will be able to utilize what it already has stored as energy, which means you'll directly burn stored fat for fuel, whereas with diets, you'll only be burning the calories from the new foods that you're putting in your body and never even get a chance to tap into the stored fat all around your body. So in conclusion, Is it possible to experience results with both of these eating patterns? Heck yes, it is. However, if there was a more efficient and easier route to reaching your weight loss goals, it would be in your best interest to explore it. Now, if you've been thinking about giving fasting a try and you just weren't sure how to get started, you can check out my full presentation on intermittent fasting right now. In that video that I mentioned earlier, I'll cover the optimal fasting timeframes, how many times per week you should ideally fast for, and I'll even bust a few more fat loss myths that have been keeping us from getting in the best shape of our lives. So if you've got a few minutes, I encourage you to head on over to ScienceBasedSixPack.com and watch the video now.